Bam, bam, bam. What's going on, everybody? We're live. Draft month, Wednesday, live streams. How's everybody doing? Check in with the chat here in a second. We've got myself, Bobby Skinner, as always, and then Justin Pennick, as always. But we have, I think, on the first time on camera with us since the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, the football Grump. Grump, what's going on, my man?
Yeah, this is the first time you guys are getting me from Grump Studios 3.0, my new place.
Yeah, that's true. You're a lot closer to the wall in this new studio, where the last one it was like your desk and then the entire like long room behind you.
Yeah, I had my computer desk in my living room. Now I have its own room. So this is my little studio space.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet.
How you feeling doing draft stuff, man? I feel like I'm a little frustrated with myself. I haven't got as much done as I wanted to. For a variety of reasons, but still getting stuff done, grinding through some stuff. How are you feeling like with this draft?
I feel the same way as you. I'm pretty exhausted. I've been doing pretty much nonstop work, and I still feel like I didn't do, maybe not that I didn't do enough, but I didn't work as fast as possible. I'm kind of cramming at the end here, the last couple of position groups to really fine tune. As far as this draft goes, I don't know. The Giants have so many ways that they can pivot and go that I don't know about you guys, but whenever I do like a mock draft, which is not that often, I struggle really hard around pick 61, where I'm just like, I could go like 36 different ways here, or 67. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I usually nail but it's like a week before the draft, and it's like when you get everything done or close to done, it's like, okay, this is who I want. Like I feel comfortable for. Like I found out Monty Rice like a week before the draft. Joe Tryon was a guy who I didn't watch him till the Tuesday before the draft, and I fell in love with him. So, and that's when I kind of fill in the holes on like guys we didn't hit on. So I'm feeling good. Tomorrow we're hitting on some DBs, which I'm actually feeling a little more confident myself, like grading DBs, especially when they play man coverage. But when they play Trent McDuffie, Kyler Gordon at Washington, then it's like, okay, it's hard to judge who this guy is because he's bailing in cover 3 every single rep.
Those guys have really, really varied draft grades around experts too.
Yeah, it's just hard to judge, where it's like if you got a man corner, it's like, okay, this is a lot easier to judge what you're about. So we hate talking about this on our podcast, so we don't. But for our Wednesday streams, we're going to kick them off with our guests every single time. Who are you aiming for at 5 and 7?
Well, assuming that there's no trades, I mean, I have been like really, really adamant about getting a second first-round pick next year. I think it's really important for the possibility of needing a quarterback. And at this point, I'm almost going to say probability of needing a quarterback.
I'm with you.
Which is no slight to Daniel Jones. It's just if this is his make it or break it year, it's not really a roster that he's going to be able to show that he can make it. It would be really, really difficult for him to do that. So I'm going to say probability. But if I'm sticking with 5 and 7, I find myself more and more wondering if it's necessary to take the best tackle in the draft just to play right tackle or not. And that's where I'm flip-flopping a lot. But it is so hard to say no to Evan Neal when he's sitting there. But I guess I would flip the question back to also and getting an edge rusher. I would even say Jermaine Johnson is in play at 7 if that's the best edge rusher on the board. But I would prefer to have him a little bit further down into like the teens. But I guess I'll flip the question back to you. If there is only one pick at, let's just say they traded 5 away and both Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau are available at 7, how do you guys feel?
To me, it's easy.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's easy for me, and it's Evan Neal. One thing is just the huge hole at right tackle. It's the biggest need on this team. 2, I love Evan Neal. I think he's really good. And I think he'll fill that role well. And I think he'll be better at right tackle than he would at left tackle. In fact, there's times, especially in the run game, where he looked better at right tackle from a sophomore year compared to left tackle this past year, his junior year. Some more ability to just kind of bully guys on the right side of the lines. When at left tackle, a lot of times you're just kind of like on one-on-one run out blocks. And I'm actually working on a breakdown of Bernard Raymond right now. Man, I think after those, the top two, it's a serious drop off. Cross would probably be the third right now, but I have serious worries about him. I don't know if you're going to get it. If Falele, if you could guarantee me he's going to be healthy, but he scares me to death with that weight. He'd be my third guy. Like, I actually would have him above Cross if you can guarantee me that he's going to be healthy. I really like Falele more than most people, especially at that right tackle spot. He's not going to be put in vertical sets. It's a big fall off, man. Even Trevor Penning's not like Trevor Penning has some worrisome stuff to his game against smaller competition. I think it's just, and don't get me wrong, if Neal and Aquanu aren't there, I don't want them to take tackle. You don't want to reach for a need, but those guys aren't reaching. I think they would probably they would line up in best player available. You can argue that Sauce or it's Kayvon are better than those guys, but it's slight enough to where that big need is there. And I'm tired of not taking this offensive line serious. I'm really tired of not taking this offensive line serious. And hopefully we're not picking in the top 5, top 7, top 10 for years to come. And we may not have that chance at that top offensive tackle because those guys are freak athletes that they're not a position you get in the later rounds. Like, you can't even get decent ones in the later rounds at that offensive tackle spot.
You can replace that same argument that you just said and say edge rusher as well. That's the thing. The Giants have messed around with their pass rushers. I can imagine there are fans, not as much of the offensive line, just because, we have Eli PTSD and him getting hit and stuff like that. But the Giants have not taken their offensive line seriously. Dave Gettleman came in here and said that, not only is he going to protect the quarterback, run the ball, but he's going to also get after the quarterback. Did not have any significant investments in the pass rushing department outside of Azeez Ojulari, which was a second round pick of his final year as general manager. And you can't get these freak athletes, edge rushers, outside of round 1. It usually doesn't happen. So, Grump, if you were to really put a gun to my head and you say to me, you get one pick, because I know somebody already said this, Daniel Jeremiah was saying on McAfee today that the Giants are really looking to get out of 5. It's just a matter of our teams looking to go up, which is the main question. If you put a gun to my head and we only have one pick, 5 or 7, and Kayvon, Neal, I have an option. I'm taking Kayvon.
It's interesting split decision between the two of you, and I don't know what my answer is on that because it kind of changes daily. Right now, I'm leaning towards I would go Neal, but literally yesterday, it was Thibodeau while I was doing some mock draft stuff.
But then it's like, well, then what do you do at right tackle? And that's the whole anxiety, you take back, and it also gets me excited for second round picks that are available. The prospect of, if you don't have an extra first round pick, then yeah, you can possibly get a first rounder next year. And that's very, very valuable, especially in that QB department, but also getting a second or a third round pick this year in this year's class where there is so much depth available, where I am more excited about picks 36, 67, 81, whereas I'm anxious about 5 and 7. I'm anxious about reaching for a player that may not deserve a top 10 pick at 7 versus I'm excited about what is going to be happening on days 2 and 3 for us.
Before you start, I want to ask you some questions. We'll get to them. I want to give a shout out to Abe, who we clowned on him last week, and he's back with a good attitude, and I appreciate that. He enjoys a nice ball busting. So, Abe, if you got some questions today, they're going to the forefront. I appreciate you being able to handle a little ball. So I felt a little bad after that.
Yeah, and don't leave a super chat. Don't leave it.
No
super question.
Yeah,
and we'll get it to it, Abe. Everyone else can leave a super chat.
Yeah. The thing is, man, it's like, okay, I feel good about getting Arnold Ebiketie in the second round, or whatever edge rusher in the third round. It's like, okay, that's good value. I think if you take a tackle in the second round, even if it's a guy like Raymond or whoever, I think there's such a higher chance that guy's not like a great player, but not even a good player or a solid player. Like I more I watch, and maybe this is this class specifically with the tackles, but I go back to last year too, and it's like, I don't know, like Alex Leatherwood, like he's not going to be a tackle in the NFL. Sam Cosmi was talked about. He's not going to be a good tackle in the NFL. Maybe these guys develop, but like right now they've been moved back into guard. It's so hard to find good tackles. We saw it with Matt Parrott, who has all the traits, and I think Bernard Raymond kind of reminds me of him a little bit. Not like him better than Parrott, but it's so hard. And we've seen you look at the NFL, and the best tackles are from the top of round 1. And we've gotten so accustomed. Yes, but you find good pass rushers not in the top of round 1.
Right, and especially with
you don't find great ones.
Defense, yeah.
You can find good pass rushers, and especially So, I think it's more of a conversation. Like, to me, Evan Neal, like a tackle in Evan Neal or Ekwonu, like that's an easy pick for me if those guys are there. And then with Kayvon Thibodeau and Sauce Gardner, that's where I feel like it gets a little dicey. But I'd be excited with either one. If they go, if Neal and Ekwonu are available for the Giants and they're on the clock and they don't come out of this draft from those guys, I'm going to be disappointed.
Well, what if we look at it from a roster construction point of view? Like, think beyond this year, think into the future. Where would you rather be spending your money to re-sign your own, at tackle or at edge rusher? I'm really thinking about this for the first time. I mean, what's going to command more money above market value?
At right
which
tackle
one can
or edge rusher, right?
Right. It would be
it's
right
not
tackle.
Just tackle.
Specifically right tackle, yes.
Yeah.
To me, I lean towards drafting the edge players over signing them. I just
Big
think
time.
that, I think I'm happier in the long term signing on cheaper deals right tackles than drafting them as a general philosophy. To me, the real issue here, and the reason this is a problem, is because both of these spots have been neglected for far too long. I mean, getting Matt Parrott was a cool idea, and I guess that's technically the right way you should be building your roster, right? Is you sign a veteran right tackle to hold you over. You start drafting these developmental guys to kind of handle the right side, and someone along the line will figure that out. But it sucks when you back up a Brinks truck for the worst tackle in the league, and then also draft a chump, I guess, is really Matt Parrott's issue, is he's just not aggressive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So again, it's not impossible, but I view those guys as best player available plus the biggest need on this team. And there's been a huge hole left there. All right. So ask us. There we go.
Asked a good question.
That is a good question.
How much of a reach is Lloyd at 7 if Gardner and Kayvon are gone? Bobby, we talked about this.
So we thought about this scenario, and I'll throw it to Grump. If they get the tackle at 5 and Gardner and Kayvon are gone, and obviously Agent's gone, to me, in my personal battle is Jermaine Johnson versus Devin Lloyd. Where do you fall on that, Grump? Well, not even just those two, but like if that scenario plays out.
So, I mean, those are my two also. And I would actually sneak Nakobe Dean up a little bit further than most people, although 7 is still out of reach for me.
I just like Devin Lloyd more. I love Dean, but I like Lloyd more.
I have them flipped. I think I don't know. Sometimes Devin Lloyd seems to sit and wait a little too much for me in coverage, but we're splitting hairs here. I like them both a lot. To me, that's a reach. I would be more Jermaine Johnson at 7 than Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd, I would put somewhere closer between like the 13 to 15 range. And while those numbers are close, when you're up this high in the draft, that's actually a more significant reach than if you're in like the 3rd round, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Jermaine Johnson probably belongs somewhere around 10. So 7 is not too much of a reach, but it's close. It's a good question.
I would probably end up in Jermaine, just, some of the same reasons Justin brought up when we were talking about Kayvon and stuff. And I really like Jermaine Johnson too, as well. And it's like, you can find line. I hate bringing that argument to the draft because, like, at the end of the day, you need to draft good players and positional value matters, but don't go too crazy on it. But you can,
Right.
like, there's other linebackers in this class that you feel it can come in and be really good players for you.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the same, like, same level of those guys. I think Chanel can get to that level. But there's a good chance they're not getting Chanel either if they this scenario happens. So I would lean Johnson or one of those edge guys. Here's I have had this rant in my head the past week because it's the conversation about Trayvon Walker, and I know this is totally off topic. Can we stop acting like the Georgia Bulldogs coaching staff and defensive scheme teaches guys to not use their hands and rush the passer? That's not true. Like this idea that like, and it's not even about production. I don't care about his stats. His stats are the least of my worries. It's not about.
We're talking about Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, Trayvon Walker. The stats are the least of my worries. It's the fact that he has no pass rush like ability or reaction or counter. Like he doesn't do anything. He's big and strong. He's versatile. You can line up in a nose tackle. That's cool. You can drop. Like there's a lot of stuff he can do. But at the end of the day, you watch Jermaine Johnson when he was at Georgia. Okay, don't talk to me about how Jermaine Johnson's production jumped. Go watch Jermaine Johnson at Georgia, and he's a better pass rusher than what Trayvon Walker was this past year. Watch Azeez Ojulari, who I wasn't even the highest guy on Azeez Ojulari. He was a much better pass rusher than Trayvon Walker. Now, does Trayvon Walker have better traits than both those guys? Yes. So is he going to go in the first round, in the top half of the first round? Yes. But I've kind of lost my mind in the Trayvon Walker conversation, not just like, oh, well, you got to project, but it's been this idea that Georgia has taught their defensive ends and their pass rushers to not rush the passer, one, and two, not to use pass rush moves. Like, that's not true, okay? Like, Trayvon Walker's issues are his issues. They're not just Georgia. Like, okay, if he was allowed to just, rush like a bend the corner type stuff, which I don't think he has the best corner bend anyways. Yeah. Nope. Would there be better production, better pass rush reps from him? Yes, there would. But this idea that, oh, no, they just teach you to put your hands in the chest and just stay there. That's not true.
Where do you think Trayvon Walker ends up full-time? Because I keep flip-flopping between whether he's a full-time edge rusher or a full-time defensive lineman and needs to throw on another 30 pounds. Because
possibly
to me,
Calais Campbell role.
Yeah. To me, I think most of his production just comes from his sheer quickness and just beating bigger guys onto the inside move. And that's how he creates more havoc behind the line of scrimmage. And if that's what he's going to do, then he's more of a, I don't want to say like Leonard Williams type, but if we're going to archetype into a Giants player, he's more that guy where he can kind of situationally pass rush from the edge, but more D lineman than edge rusher.
Texans at 3. Cesario is going to look for a Richard Seymour kind of player. That's what I can see in my brain, and that's also what I'm rooting for as a Giants fan who wants a tackle, a pass rusher that I want to be there. Where the Houston Texans and Nick Cesario can look at Trayvon Walker, be like, Richard Seymour, let's get him.
Ideally, he ends up in a 4-3. He just play the end in a 4-3. Right. But if he's in a 3-4, I think you use him in versatile ways. But I think like his best role is that Calais Campbell, like 5 technique role.
How many teams even run a pure 4-3 or a mainly 4-3 defense anymore?
The Rams,
the Cowboys,
the Chargers, I think do.
I don't think the Cowboys do anymore.
No, not
Dan
anymore.
Quinn.
They did with Nolan.
Yeah. I don't know, but they're out there, and obviously some coaches will fluctuate to their personnel. Like, I'm interested to see what Pat Graham does now that he has Max Crosby, who's a hand in the dirt end. Chandler Jones can be a hand in the dirt or a stand up.
Yeah. I have a good question because I talked about how excited I am for rounds 2 and 3 and day 2. Grump, I think you seem to agree with me when I said that. So Tom asked a good question. What positions do you see us going for in round 2 and 3, and maybe even some players thrown in there too?
Oh, are you throwing it at me?
I'm if you're ready for it, I'll throw it at you.
Yeah, you're the guest.
All right. I can see them going corner in round 2, for sure. I think that there's a nice cluster of really good corners. A lot of times when I do like mock drafts, someone like there's like a random run on a position and someone like Roger McCreary falls completely out of the first round where he absolutely, in my opinion, belongs. I think that they have a chance at like some serious fruit sitting there at the top of the second round. Seems to happen every year. Xavier McKinney should have been a first round pick, in my opinion. So that top of the second round is a premium pick. I could see them. I think there's a long shot scenario where they go right tackle there. I would not love it, but I think it's one that you can make function. But yeah, I could see them going linebacker, corner, maybe safety. Like I said, if someone like Jaquan Brisker, who does not belong in the second round, is still sitting there, I could see that being a guy who comes into the top of the second.
He had a top 30 visit with Lewis Sign out of Georgia today too.
Daxton Hill. If Daxton Hill is another, well, I didn't fully watch him yet, but doing some quick reading on Daxton Hill, there's a belief that he can possibly make that full transition to corner as well. He's long enough. So Daxton Hill's another guy that there's so many guys who are like, oh, this guy shouldn't fall out of the first round. Somebody's going to, right? And that's why 36 is so exciting.
I would love for Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson to fall.
I would love that. I haven't seen it in a long time, those two guys there, though.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with those guys because you can make top 15 arguments for both of them. And then you can see like teams not valuing interior offensive line at the top of the guard. Dylan Parham out of Memphis, I really like. He kind of fits the pass blocking guard of today, the better guards in today's NFL. So, and again, I still got some more interior offensive line guys to watch. So guys like that, because I think we added some offensive linemen in free agency, but at the end of the day, like, we still need to build this offensive line with the young guys on the inside.
I want to
stop gaps in the middle right now.
Yes, I was going to say they added guys. They basically put together a playable roster is really what they did with the offensive line so far. They did not really add talent yet. Glowinski is probably the only one that's like legitimate talent, and it's very much stopgap.
Right. Yeah. So, but I once you get in the rounds 2 and stuff, I think it does become more about best player available. Like, I put out every year. I put out tweets of the Giants picks and the recent picks and that history, and it's just like a draft tradition. I love sending a tweet on that every single morning this time of year. Look at pick 36 versus like pick 25 or what fill in.
Insane.
It's because, like, at the top of the second, it's like you have these guys who fell out of the first, whether it's positional value or maybe some red flag or something.
And also, the Giants historically as a franchise hit on their second rounders all the time. There's like so many names of like guys that are like bigger hits in the second round than they are in the first round. Snacks and I, we just did that exercise for Bleeding Blue, and that's something that the real football fans of New Jersey, they talk about that all the time too. So Giants as a franchise, no correlation to what they're doing now, but Giants just as a franchise have pretty good luck with the second round. So I'm very, very excited for it.
I'm going to pull up the tweet I'm going to compare pick 7 to pick 36 and show you how kind of crazy this is.
Yeah.
So I'll say this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'll run through it. Pick 7 last year, Javon Holland. Pick 7 or picks 36 was Javon Holland. Pick 7, Penei Sewell. So you take Penei Sewell. Even though you could see Javon Holland being up. Derek Brown, pick 7. Xavier McKinney, pick 36. We're taking Xavier McKinney. Josh Allen, linebacker, the edge, pick 7 in 2019. Pick 36, Deebo Samuel. I'm taking Deebo Samuel. 2018, Darius Leonard, pick 36. 2018, Josh Allen, QB. You're obviously taking Josh Allen, but Darius Leonard is one of the best linebackers in the game.
Yeah, like an all-pro.
Mike Williams picked that 7 in 2017. Buda Baker as safety. Buda Baker's been a better player than Mike Williams. Miles Jack in 2016 versus DeForest Buckner. Buckner's been a better player. Kevin White, 2015 versus TJ Yeldon. Even TJ Yeldon is the worst pick on this. He's better than Kevin White. Derek Carr, 2014 versus Mike Evans. You take Mike Evans. And then Darius Slay versus Jonathan Cooper. I don't know how good of an offensive lineman Jonathan Cooper is, so I won't comment on that. But just shows how, like, pick 36 is just insane.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times teams picking in the top 10, it would be really interesting thought experiment to go further on what you just did there and see how often in those years the same teams are picking in the top 10. I think a lot of times people pick 7 is weird, right? We just had a whole conversation about how much is too much of a reach. I think you tend to outsmart yourself on not screwing up a pick that high, but it's high, but it's also in that weird spot where you're not really dealing with the elite, obvious superstar talent anymore. You're like, this guy is an absolute starter in the league, potential Pro Bowler. And that just gets a little bit trickier. Whereas at pick 36, you're really just you're waiting for what falls, right? And for years, Jordan Raanan had this quote a while ago, probably like 2 months ago, and it sticks in my head because it's so true. For years, the Giants thought that they could out-scout everybody else, and that's why they never traded back. But where that comes into play is the second round, because you don't trade in the second round. If you're picking at the top of the second round, there's no reason to trade back from there. Just let what falls to you fall, and don't overthink it. Sorry, my cat's awake.
Wow. You guys gonna stream the draft? Yes,
we'll be streaming every single minute of it. Usually we cut off after the Giants' first round pick. This year we won't be doing that. We're like, I guess last year we stayed on pretty late because we picked 20th. But like when we picked Andrew Thomas,
we traded back.
When we picked Andrew Thomas, like we were done streaming, like by like pick 8. So yes,
and Grump will be there at some point. So if you're enjoying Grump, you will see his beautiful face again.
Christopher Tony asks, I missed it. Tight end in third or fourth? Instead of answering that question directly, Grump, I'll say who's not named Trey McBride. Who's like that tight end that you really like in the mid rounds?
Okonkwo. I don't even know if that's mid round. That might be a little bit later.
Is that the Maryland cat?
Yeah.
Big time to watch him. He's like the only tight end I haven't watched yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think his tape is really going to blow you away, but I think
I watch your stuff. I listen to you talk about him.
Oh yeah, I don't think he'll blow you away, but you'll immediately see he's got the NFL body, and it's like just kind of stuck playing at Maryland. It's a bit of a projection, but it's hard for me to let go of that kid. But I mean, I like Jake Ferguson more than just about everybody else. Apparently.
Me too.
I do not understand this like sixth round grade on Jake Ferguson. I don't get it.
I like him better than Ruckert.
Oh, me too.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me and Grump have had this conversation, and I don't like being negative on Twitter about draft prospects. One, because it can come back to bite you. And two, it's like no one really cares. Like everyone has their kind of their own opinion. So I'd rather just talk about the guys I like and seeing who I like as well. When you're talking the top of the draft, like guys like Trayvon Walker, it's a little different. I don't get the level of favor with Jeremy Ruckert. Tell me what he's good at. I think he's average at everything, which I guess could be an argument for him in itself. Is like, well, he's not really horrible at anything, but he's average at everything. He's got average speed. He's an average at best blocker. He's an average route runner. He doesn't like. I saw someone, and I actually sent it to Grump. Someone tweeted like Jeremy Ruckert might be my tight end one. It was a 2-yard catch, and he literally fumbled on the play, but he broke a tackle. It's like this is your tight end one, Theo Ash.
That's why I try not to put out too many draft clips because I could see somebody like myself being like, "Look at this really good play," and it's like not a good play, and I've fallen victim to that before. So
Elijah Vera Tucker,
this is a really good rep. No, it's not. Fuck you.
Infamous one. So yeah, I just don't get the Jeremy. Like, tell me what he does really well. Like, if we're talking round 5, yeah, sure. But this idea, like. Jeremy Ruckert, I'm not saying he can't have like a long career in the NFL as a backup tight end, but it's going to be as a backup tight end.
When I tweeted that out, I didn't even mean for it to be incendiary. That was a legitimate question. What is it that everybody loves about this guy so much? Yeah. Because
no one can name it.
Yeah, I don't consider myself an expert at anything that I'm doing here. I'm an amateur that I've just done every year, and I've gotten a little better at it every year, and I whatever. So when I see something where it's just like, everybody is telling me this guy's good and I just don't see it. That was a legitimate question. And I had a varied group of answers. I had a bunch of people defending it and a bunch of people agreeing with me too. So I just came away just like, I'm just going to stick with my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Somebody else said Isaiah Likely is somebody that I liked a lot more when I watched his film than I did at the Senior Bowl. I don't know about you guys, but to me at the Senior Bowl, he did nothing really for me.
Yeah, he worries me. I see why people like him, but he worries me as a prospect. I have something to admit, and it's in my hand. I'm a thief. I stole this.
Wow.
I was like my cousin Vinny. I put it in we were at a gift shop getting gifts for some people, and had a bunch of stuff in my hands, and it somehow just slipped into my pocket. I guess it must have been like I kind of swing my keys around on my finger, slipped in my pocket. Mm-hmm. Bought like over $100 worth of stuff. We walk out and the alarm goes off. I'm like, that's weird, but the cash register, you guys just spent over $100. Like, go ahead. We're not gonna frisk you down. And then I search my pockets. I'm like, oh look, I stole this little shuttle. So
where is the security device on that set off the alarm?
It's like it's just like a sticker. Yeah,
barcode.
Basically, okay. Yeah, like this.
Where's
barcode
the barcode
right here?
Oh shit! Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that'll do it. Jelani Woods. Anybody watch Jelani Woods? Because besides him just being one of the best athletic tight end prospects since 1987, I don't know much about him. Besides, he's just really enticing. Anybody
what do you got on him, Grump?
I gave him a 4th round grade with a lot of ceiling involved. His cuts are sudden, but his kind of rounded. He's got a lot of refining to do. But like Justin said, he's really athletic. He lines up at Y and H, so he's a fit there. I like the body type of 250 pounds and 6'7" is ideal. I mean,
it's insane. He's he's a freak.
His blocking, even like, I think all elements of his game needs his some work. Like for my blocking notes is that he gets into it with force and with good pop, but he doesn't lock on and sustain as much as I would like. Which at tight end, he ain't no running back. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be blocking, I need you to block a little bit. Like, you know,
that's why I'm interested to see like Isaiah Likely. So where does that come in with him? The blocking element.
Let me see.
Because I mean, I don't. It's not that you can say that he's not good at blocking, but it's like, well, show me his blocking reps. I don't even know if he had a lot of blocking reps to begin with. Which he's also very light.
The whole blocking or receiving tight end question, to me, it's like I kind of need you to be able to block. Not be a great blocker, but I need you to have like some ability to block.
Show me more than effort.
I want to see. For right now, this roster construction needs somebody. Two people that can block. Now, if one of them can block and catch really well, like, you know, you get somebody who can do both really well, like a Trey McBride, that's ideal. So you have someone to, but right now a receiving tight end, somebody who specializes in that is a luxury this team can't afford this draft, in my opinion.
Dulcich, you think is kind of like a no-go for you?
I wouldn't say a no-go, but he's a luxury. It would depend on where he's sitting there. What else has happened? I mean, if we're talking about Dulcich, let's just say the second, third round pick that we have, what is that, 81 or something like that?
Yes.
And in the first 81. 2 rounds, if in the first 2 rounds we've gotten a right, it's say we got Evan Neal at 5 and Kenyon Green at 36, then I feel okay getting a receiving tight end because I know the right side of my lines are already solid. I don't really need to get the block. You know what I mean? There's some leeway there. I can get the blocking tight end later on the draft. I can get a pure blocking tight end even if I feel like it at that point. Yeah. So I wouldn't say he's off the board, but he's pretty close to being a luxury I can't afford.
Max Garcia, second tight end and 12 personnel.
Has he done that before?
Kenyon Green at 36, and we grab our right tackle, and then there you go. That's
I think Kenyon Green would be a better tackle than a lot of the other tackles in this class.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the beginning of the year,
I wouldn't put him there, but I think he'd be better than some of the guys who are like looked as like a second round tackles.
You don't go tackle in round 1. Kenyon Green is drafted. Is he right tackle? Day 1?
No, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to take a guy who's great at one position and give him a position you might struggle at.
Yeah, I agree. Right. We had that conversation at the beginning of the college year last year. I was like, yo, check out this Kenyon Green kid. And then we were like, I'm so annoyed he's playing tackle this year. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, we actually talked about him on our way too early draft preview. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was like, I'm kind of annoyed that he's going to play tackle, because like I love this guy at guard. In fact, my film breakdown of him is 2020 tape, when he was strictly playing guard for Texas A&M.
What's going to be really annoying when 67 and 81, they're going to probably take a running back instead of taking like a tight end or D'Angelo Malone's probably closer to 112, but there's going to be like a lot of fun players available. Fedarian Mathis is another one, I guess. There's going to be a fun player available, and they're probably going to go like James Cook.
Yeah.
James Cook is going to be a top 100 pick. So,
did you guys do all of your running back work?
No, I've done barely any. I've done this guys at the Senior Bowl.
Oh, okay. I came away.
I did James Cook though. He was one of the few ones. But I think wasn't James Cook supposed to go to the Senior Bowl and he didn't, or did he go to the Senior Bowl?
He did not go to the Senior Bowl.
I think he might have was supposed to go to the Senior Bowl because I did little mini write ups on all the Senior Bowl guys beforehand. I haven't done full ones on all of them.
I kind of think. I mean, not that it matters, but I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker are better than James Cook. It's close, but I don't think that's
I feel like everyone says they're the top 2 guys.
Okay, Hall, there's like Hall first round chatter. Like if there's just a team that needs a running back, take Hall. He's an insane athlete, you know.
It's not even that. I mean, he's a very good running back. I waited till the very end to be doing running back stuff because I was pretty sure we weren't going to do nothing. But we'll see.
Yeah, I got a lot to cram into. I thought my goal was to get 250 players done, and it's like, all right, it's going to be 150. And we won't draft any of the late round guys that I looked at.
Of course not.
Which will be so frustrating, but it is what it is. All right, let's get some more questions in here. Good. We've actually had some pretty good questions that haven't been. I think people have gotten to the point is like, don't ask Bobby and Justin what they want to do at pick 5 and 7.
Yeah, very good job. Everybody's doing a good job.
A place where I want to be in life.
We got some things on. I know we're going back to edge rushers, but a lot of people were talking about it. Let me see. There we go. What about you? Actually, really like Benito from Oklahoma.
I do. Benito.
Let's talk about him. Edge rusher, because we were talking about edge rusher round 1, how important it is. But if they don't go edge rusher round 1, or if they trade out one of the picks, they get tackle, then they're going to need to add an edge somewhere. So let's talk about some.
Nick Benito. Let me just pull up my notes so I don't sound like a goofus. I gave him.
Go ahead. If you got the notes, go
ahead. I gave him a second, third round grade, which is usually what I give people in like the back half of a round. I'm not really sure how to place them. But I think he's super versatile. I think he looks really comfortable in coverage situations as well. So like as much of an edge rusher as he is, I think he's also a more well-rounded linebacker in general, which is why I value. He's super versatile in my opinion. Super high effort guy. Really good in the run game as well. He's got decent length. It's like my biggest issue with him is that he's only 6'3", which it can make a lot of that bending around the edge stuff hard. It can be making, that reach isn't there to really pull in from the edge. But I really like Nick Benito. And I think if he were, 6'4", if he were 6'5", I think he'd be a first round pick. Fringe, like first, second.
My issue with him is that he's very fast, but I don't know if he's good enough at like the stuff he's good at to look over him being really bad versus the run and very slow sleight of frame. So there's a lot of guys in this edge class that like are talked highly about that. Like Drake Jackson worries me, although Jake Jackson has the frame, and you see the flashes of like, okay, the stuff he's bad at, he could get better at. Benito worries me a little bit. I'm not as high on him as other guys. Mafe, I like decently. Ebikidi, I really do like. Enikbare, I go back and forth on Enikbare.
I know.
Like I liked him going into the year, and then I watched his stuff this year, and I was like, I feel underwhelmed. But like me and you talked about him, Grump, on the way too early draft pod. And I was like, I really like this guy, and then this year it just like didn't come together for him.
No, I'm a big guy on like art. Because I'm not I'm not the best at traits and projecting and stuff like that. So if you play hard, like I'm gonna I really like to see that. And Enikbare just has plays where it looks like he's taking them off, and it looks like he's really, really lazy, and it looks like he's disinterested in playing, and that's where he really turned me off once I saw a few games of him just kind of taking plays off and stuff like that.
You want to know what's crazy about that, Justin? Is I noticed that same exact thing. But when I watched his 2020 stuff for the way tour, I kept my notes from that, and compared it, and my notes were similar. I had high effort, like motor never stops going. And then this year, it was different. I don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a South Carolina edge thing, shout out Jadeveon Clowney, where it's like your last year, all of a sudden you shut it down.
I don't think he was hurt. Sometimes if you're hurt.
But he was kind of whack at the Senior Bowl. I mean, the Senior Bowl was like a shining moment for the defense, and he was one of the big names my eyes on did jack squat while we were there.
Yeah, like guys like Max Mitchell were taking care of him. Like D'Angelo Malone looked way better than him.
Let's see.
Any thoughts on signing another veteran tight end for cheap, like Eric Ebron and Jared Cook, and then drafting a tight end? I don't know if those two, because those guys might command a little more.
They don't
money.
Sound cheap to me,
but I do think they're going to have to add some other tight end like after the draft. Like I know we joke about Chris Myrick, but right now he's their number 2 tight end to Ricky Seals-Jones, who is like a number 3 tight end than a number 2 tight end, who has makes Evan Ingram look like a good blocker.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones should be the first guy off the bench, not the first guy trotting onto the field. This is an offseason where they have to come away, however they do it, with 2 tight ends, in my opinion. I don't really want Ricky Seals-Jones to be the second tight end either. I really don't. So whether that's signing a cheap blocking tight end and then drafting a tight end of the future or whatever, that works for me. I think they're going to have to do something in free agency for cheap.
Yeah, which I think after what was it, May 12th, their signings don't count against the comp pick formula if guys do count against the comp pick formula. So I think that may have something to do with it. There's going to be a lot of slots that the Giants still have to fill. And how many UDFAs are they going to sign? Or are they going to want to sign a lot of UDFAs? Are they going to try and get guys on the cheap? So there's a lot that they have to do, and it's kind of daunting.
That's kind of an interesting thought. What positions would you really target at the UDFA spot?
I think you're just kind of getting guys at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can get a cluster of potential talent there with like running back.
We're going to have a lot this year, which I'm very excited for. Whenever there's a new regime, you get a lot of UDFAs.
Yeah.
Blocking tight end. I feel like an interior an interior defensive lineman could come out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you totally. I think you could probably even get a wide receiver. You can get a running back. All those things that are just kind of like secondary, air quotes, secondary needs for this team. I think you can get like something at a UDFA there.
Who has been the most favorite UDFA who never actually played a rep for the Giants the past few years? Is it CJ Conrad, the Kentucky tight end?
I really liked him a lot. Yeah.
We did too.
Derek Dillon
like insane catches at Kentucky.
Derek Dillon was fast.
People were higher on Austin Mack and
Benjamin Victor.
Well, he played.
Javon Leake was one Chris Mickle said. I really liked him.
I really liked Javon Leake. I thought he was going to be our returner. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. He was.
I don't know what that is. We have. I don't understand what it takes to be a kick returner in the NFL, because the Giants have like so many fast guys, smart guys, it looks like, and they never return punts or kicks.
Let's see. All right, we're at 41 minutes, so we'll go for another 10 minutes or so. So hit us with some last minute questions. What are you guys hitting on the next Just Giants podcast?
We're recording tomorrow for a Friday episode. We're doing running backs. That's why I was actually just churning some out before we started here. Yeah.
We're doing DBs tomorrow. Who's a mid-round corner you like?
Ooh, good question. I can tell you my favorite one off the top of my head is Kyler Gordon.
Really? I'm not. I have such a hard time.
It's tough.
He plays bail cover 3. It's like, how do I judge this guy?
Washington just produces these corners.
I was going to say it to my cousin, the cranky fan, but why is Washington never discussed as like a fringe DBU? But if I say that, I mean, it's going to start a rant. So I just didn't. I don't know.
Very sensitive.
Dude, no. That's a college thing. Anybody who's big into college, that you should see them talk about uniforms, man. If they got a special helmet out and it's not the right colors, it's like the whole game. That's all they're talking about. Mid-round, Damari Mathis from Pittsburgh. I like him a lot. I think he might be potentially regimented to more on the inside, but if we're just staying basic here and guys I really like in the middle rounds, I mean, we could use as many DBs as we can get our hands on, right? Damari Mathis, Alontae Taylor. Those are two guys I really like.
Well, I wrote down his name. I'm going to watch him, and maybe we'll talk about him on the Friday podcast.
The Giants have 4 cornerbacks on their roster right now, including James Bradbury, and they have 2 safeties. I think. Right?
Yeah.
Do we really think that James Bradbury is going to play a down next year? Okay.
No, we don't. We're almost like for sure he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, when we're looking at corners and stuff like that, one of the things that I'm thinking about and I'm trying to look into is I'm looking at Ravens draft history of, well, who are the Ravens that were drafted, or who are the Ravens that were on the roster? I'm looking at their arm length, because if this is going to be a big press man coverage defense, then you ideally want guys with long arms that they can make plays on the football, right? Which the Ravens typically did have corners with pretty long arms. So like Marlon Humphrey and Sean Wade are 2 guys. I know Sean Wade's not on the team anymore, but Humphrey has pretty long arms. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking about of, okay, well, how are the Giants going to evaluate corners? Are corners that play off ball, kind of that bail cover 3, like Bobby was saying about these Washington guys, are they off the board for the Giants because they don't have that experience? Or guys with shorter arms like Roger McCreary, are they off the board because of that reason? Like, he has really, really short arms. So those are things that I'm like tossing in my brain back and forth right now with these cornerbacks.
Another guy that I royally screwed up my draft projection on was Marcus Jones from Houston. He's going to be interesting too, because you mentioned the short arm length. Are they going to be completely off the board? He's 5'8", but in man coverage, he looks pretty solid. So I mean, I don't know.
And I think it kind of differentiates a little bit when you're talking about an outside guy from a slot guy. You can afford a guy to be a little bit smaller. Now, you just made a face, so let me know if you disagree.
Oh,
At
no.
least some. Oh my God,
back
my legs
hurts.
just flickered. How do the Giants evaluate Aaron Robinson? Like, how do they view him? Do they view him as an outside guy? Do they view him as an inside guy? So there's also a bunch of questions of how do the Giants evaluate the players that are on their roster right now? How does Joe Schoen evaluate that? And then how is that going to reflect moves that are made on days 2 and 3? It's nuts. I'm like Charlie Day, and It's Always Sunny, and like the pins going all over the place.
Could you see Aaron Robinson over the course of his career transitioning to like a box safety?
Box safety?
No, but I could see him moving outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Robinson could do it, but I think he could play corner.
Yeah.
And especially if you're just putting him in the nickel, I think he'll do well with that. I think if there's one like player, you're not just talking about like how good of a player he is, like just fit with Wink Martindale, it's Aaron Robinson.
Oh yeah, I'm talking like down the line to like continue his career, like he'll just transition to safety.
Manny Magical, please stop spamming the chat with the same question. We haven't watched Abe Lucas. Appreciate your support. Let's see, we're at 46 minutes. I'm kind of good. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about? Go subscribe to the Just Giants podcast. We put that it's in the pinned comment right now, so make sure to do that. Support enough, or it's in the description as well.
Oh, thank you.
If you're not watching it live.
Tough.
We didn't talk about Kyle Hamilton at all.
Oh, okay.
Do we hate riot?
Nope. Okay. Just making sure we're on the same. I don't if we've ever talked about Kyle Hamilton, did we?
I don't think he's a slam dunk like top player in the draft as people make him out to be, but you also see like you can understand why people are so fully in love with him, and I like him a lot too. But when I watch him, I don't view his like this guy's the greatest player in the draft. I think Sauce Gardner's a better player. I think Evan Neal. I think Kayvon. 100%. I think Hutchinson. I probably would have him like 8 or 9. I would take Devin Lloyd over Kyle Hamilton.
I would too.
I think here's the take. I don't think anyone's been ballsy enough to say it. I think the FSU interception is extremely overrated.
Me too. Me too.
It's a horrible QB rolling out.
That offense is so bad
with a horrible release and then the horrible underthrow.
I worked very hard to edit that play on your breakdown.
It's a good play. But I think it's horribly overrated to where it's like, look how amazing his range is.
Yeah,
it's a really good play, so I don't want to take that away. Like it's an awesome play, but like I think his 40 time is not just a bad 40 time. I do think there is some like, how fast is this guy? Like there's times where he's playing from deep and he's coming up as a tackler. He gets beat. The running back just makes one cut and is able to beat him to the corner. So there, I mean, he's a top of the first round guy, definitely. But I don't view him as like a slam dunk as many others do.
Yeah. When I think about safeties in the top 5, I think of guys like Sean Taylor. I just don't see Sean Taylor in him. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a slight on him. There aren't many Sean Taylors in the world. That's it.
So there you go. Let's let your opinion on Travis Jones. Really like him, but I think he's in a range where I don't feel like taking a defensive tackle.
If he's there 67, 81, I'm thinking about it. But I don't think he is. I think he's a round 2 guy.
But he's definitely really good. I like him a lot. I think we talked about him on our defensive tackle preview.
We did. I made sure that we talked about him because I really do like him.
Yeah. Okay.
Irish Mike freaked out when I guess we were talking about arm length. Watch tape. It's the best indicator of how you could tell if a player is going to be good. Thanks, Irish Mike. Appreciate that. That was mean. Irish Mike didn't deserve that.
That's basically what we do. We only judge on, but also I have taken more measurements. Like I think arm length is pretty. Like McCreary, like you look at outside corners, good outside corners in their arm length. There's none that have less than 30-inch arms. Not a single one in the NFL. Which is like I love McCreary. I mocked him as a 2nd-round pick, and now it's like, does he have to move to slot? Like, is he going to have to come in and be that dominant like slot corner? I don't know, but it's like he's definitely like when you watch him play on the outside, he's really good. Like he's a really good outside corner, but it's like it's hard to ignore that fact about arm length and outside corners. It's like it's just really hard to ignore that fact, even though I love his film. I
think in general measurements are a little overrated, but like the wrong measurements. I think there's other measurements that aren't even measured, like how narrow somebody's hips are, things like that, like where they can put on necessary weight and functional weight. A lot of these guys coming out of college need to put on at least 10 pounds. They need to. A lot of them need more than that. And some of them don't really have the frame to support that. You can't just say that. There are guys with just too narrow hips that's not going to change ever. They will not ever get wider hips, a wider base. And at positions where you're going to be blocking a lot, or like at running back, that kind of stuff is important where you need a lot more balance. And those things are never measured or recorded or anything. So I don't know.
I have my new pop filter thanks to Justin, who was tired of editing my audio.
Well, I don't even know if it's going to work, so I'm going to check your breakdown and see how.
Hello.
I think you do sound a little bit better on StreamYard. So
you sound very velvety in my ears.
How about that?
It's not as rough.
All right, go subscribe to the Just Giants podcast. Grump does great draft work. We brought him down to the Senior Bowl for a reason, even though he paid his own way. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday for our cornerback and safety draft preview. And then after that, it's 3 more draft preview pods?
Yes, it will be running back,
tight end and running back is one episode, even though both those could get their own episode, but it's like
you can make an argument that cornerback and safety also deserve their own episodes, but we can't. There's too much. It's too little time. So I think, cornerback safety is going to get its own episode. Tight end, running back, interior O-line, and offense tackle. And then we're on draft day, and we're giving our mock drafts.
How about that? All right, we appreciate you guys. See you on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.